Welcome back to your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, the GOC Esquire, the GOC Kirkland Esquire. We're here early on a Sunday, 20 feet below the surface of the earth, and what a show do we have planned for you. You can see we have the music going. I could smell the coffee brewing. The bacon is almost on the table, so let me lower the distraction just a little bit. Let's get in the mood. Everyone sit back, let it sink in as I come to you live to tape for show number 6, in addition to the coverage of the WWAB network and Avi Klein's The Green Room. Now, fans, just sit back a little bit. We're going to run through what happened on round 1, night 3, which was last night. There were a lot of twists and turns. It was a roller coaster ride like no one else can provide but Avi Klein. So sit back and relax. Have a cup of coffee. Round 1, night 3, here with the GOC, your old buddy. So we have a lot to cover. We're going to go from pillar to post. We're going to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms, whether that be Facebook and my good friend over there, Jay Brony. Follow me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. You're not going to want to miss it. All the stuff that we lay out there, and of course, 7 nights a week. Follow Avi Klein and all his co-hosts over at the WWAB network, Wrestling with Anything But. And that's Monday nights at 6 p.m., the world's strongest podcast with Ken Patera. Tuesdays for the Double Dip. And that's noontime with Glacier Ray Lloyd, Breaking the Ice, and Avi Klein, which leads you into 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Face Value and Bill DeMott with Avi Klein. And of course, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Maintaining the Truth with Pretty Paul Roma and Avi Klein. On Thursdays, mahalo and aloha to Don Morocco and Making Waves at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time from the islands, the North Shore. Do you get it? With co-host Avi Klein. And of course, Friday, Road to Recovery with one Duke the Dumpster Drosy, or as I like to say, El Duque. And of course, Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that would be one Del Wilkes and Unmasking the Truth. It doesn't get any better than that, and there's more shows to come. Mark Henry, that's right, 2-time Olympian Hall of Famer Mark Henry has joined the WWAB network, as has Kim Laurinaitis. There's a lot of shows that are going to be announced, and of course, let's not forget the original 4 of The Green Room and what happens every Saturday night live. And that would be one David Holliday, Howard Collado, a Mickey Doyleosaurus, and of course, the host with the most, the co-host with the most, and that would be one Avi Klein. That's what you get 7 days a week, an hour and a half to 2 hours a day live, sometimes more. But I'm here to cover one thing, and that is the 64-person single elimination bracket style tournament known, and who's to determine the host of the Green Room. We're in the middle of May Madness. It's going to last all summer. So I want you to sit back. As I said, follow me on all social media platforms. I'll give you a little opening monologue of what's going on. Everybody settle in, settle down. And this is going to be up today before you end up getting to the show tonight at 8 p.m. And that would, as I said, as I ran down the lineup, Unmasking the Truth with the Patriot Del Wilkes, Avi Klein, and of course, Pastor Andy McDaniel, and Wrestling with Faith. And who knows if David Holliday will be on Unmasking the Truth. But fans, I want to implore you, watch this product, see what's going on. It's the fastest, hottest growing movement in the entertainment industry. And then if you throw in what's going on between the Green Room, which, listen, there's been a lot of comparisons. It's been out there. It's rumor, speculation, whoever said it. A cross between Days of Our Lives and Saturday Night Live. Or perhaps a cross between, if you want to go a different route, a different angle, I'm just saying, a cross between General Hospital and SCTV for all you fans out there. It's one of a kind. It's unique. And there's nothing like it on this platform. And it's growing like you wouldn't believe. Over 1.5 million viewers per show. They're coming up on almost 4 million viewers in less than a year. I don't know. A lot of people talk about Joe Rogan, Avi Klein, Conrad Thompson's comparison. No one wants to be compared. The WWAB and all the multitude of legendary hosts and what Avi Klein is doing, it can't be challenged. It's on a different platform. It's not any better. It's different. Don't you understand yet? And then bring in, again, I'm going to get on to this. I'll keep the monologue short because we know that challenge might be coming up. Let's get on to the green room. Round 1, night 3. There were a lot of twists and turns, as I said earlier. Howard opens up the show as only he can, playing the guitar. Musician, unbelievable of what Howard Collado can do. A multi-talented guy. Yeah, a little... Does he maybe have a screw loose? Oh, I don't know. I'm just going by observation. I know I'm here as a competitor, as GOC Kirkland Esquire. But when I do this show on this platform, I'm impartial. And I put everybody over, and I talk about everybody, and I break down what I see from the eye test. As I said on the previous 5 shows of reviews and previews of the Green Room, I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly, along with the spittle. So sit back and relax. So David and Howard open up the show. David gives his little 2 cents, although he wasn't competing last night. He wasn't competing on night 3. He's up 1-0 against Jamie Sparling, his longtime friend. So David has to, as an original, hey, listen, he got screwed. Howard got screwed. We'll say it. Mickey's on the pup list, physically unable to perform. I get it. I understand the history of the Green Room that started back in September. We understand the history. We've researched it. And if you've been watching this show that's reviewing and previewing what's going on over there at the WWAB in the Green Room, you'll understand what's going on. So David talks about Jamie Sparling. They'll be coming up next week. That's going to, and David's up 1-0. So let's see what Mr. Miyagi, Jamie Sparling, walks on, walks off. I'm impressed. Let's see, because as Avi has said many times, David Holliday is the main event. He's the odds-on favorite. Go to Vegas, which a lot of people are. If you look in the book, Holliday is one of the favorites, if not the favorite. Okay, so he kissed Todd Bridges' ass last night. That's not here or there. What you talking about, Willis? I get it. We'll get on to that. But that gives you a little hint of what's going to happen here today. We have a lot to cover early this morning, so I'm going to try to get this so I can get it up this afternoon. It's going to be another beautiful, gorgeous day. So when you get a chance, watch this. All the competitors, all the people that were involved last night, watch this show. Okay, get past all the visual and realize the professional product that's being brought to you. Not just when you see me competing, but this is what you would get if I was the host of the Green Room or anywhere near it. Who knows? Maybe there's a role for the GOC somewhere. But let's not talk about that. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to review night 3. Again, Howard and David. They open up the show, give out their own personal things of what's going on. Howard with the Sarge. David with Jamie Sparling. We know that. Mr. Main Event. And then Pete from Sharpie. So I got to get prepared here. Let me do this. Pete from Sharpie. Let me put this like this for you, Pete. Now, who knew that Pete would play such a prominent role, not only as a national sponsor and one who set the whole great reset in motion with Avi Klein, but he came on like he did previously. He would end up with Avi at the end of the Green Room, whether it be night 1, night 2, and they would do a little recap after the night's matchups. Well, Pete opened up, Pete from Sharpie. You know that, fans, right? You get that, right? Pete opens up round 1 and talks about night 2 and recovers and recaps all the matchups from last week, from night 2. So I'll give him credit. He runs through all the matchups, who won, whether they're tied, whether they're 2 out of 3. Who knew that Pete all of a sudden is a sports analyst? Oh, who are you, Brent Musburger? Pete, you're supposed to be a sponsor, and now you're trying to get in. You see what happened to James from Right Guard, the national sponsor, when he tried to get involved, right? You see what's happening with him, right? And we'll talk about that. You want to go down that road, Pete? But I'll give you credit. You got some charisma. You got some presence in front of the camera. So we'll give you credit. But I'm going to say this, Pete. You did happen to refer to me as the JOC. I already have to listen to Avi say, "Get out, clown." It's not the JOC. Jock. Jock, really? It's the GOC, and that stands for the Guardian of Chaos. So I'm going to let you slide on that, Pete, because you got enough of your own going on as we go on here. The big news that came out of Pete's wrap-up and so-called review from round 1, night 2, and then looking forward into round 1, night 3, JC Fiorina, or as Ken Patera, hey, now listen, JC, I'm just saying this because Ken said it. JC Purina, dog food. Well, JC, it's official now. Because of the alleged threats, and I'll say alleged, but Pete from Sharpie, the national sponsor who's behind all this, and one of the judges in this tournament, he said, you are now, because of the things that you did, I guess maybe you did try to fly out to Minnesota, but you got stopped. For the threats you made, you can't have that associated. You have been disqualified, my man. I was wondering when that was going to come up and when that was going to happen, because you left in a huff. You were in the last episode there, and your original matchup with the world's strongest podcast, Ken Patera, you were going out to Minnesota and you made threats. It's on the videotape, Purina. You can't get past it, JC. You remember what I said back then? Leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll be back again. Well, welcome back, JC. You're disqualified. Get lost, get out. You're done. You had no chance. You came out strong, but you whittled out, kid. Somebody poured water on you. So you're all done. That was the big news that came out from Pete. Disqualified. So Ken Patera moves on to the second round with some of the other competitors that we know about and that we've talked about. So that was the big news. Back to David now and Pete. David comes onto the screen and Pete from Sharpie's still there. And then, of course, as I say it all the time, the production crew, Avi Klein himself, whoever's putting together the music and the video and the highlight packages and montages is second to none. I noticed that Jay Brony asked the same question and kind of got snapped at him. Klein does it. Oh, okay. We're just giving you a compliment. Jay was just giving you a compliment. Jay Brony's very active on Facebook. He's a friend of mine. Cut him some slack. He doesn't do the things that I do, does he? He's nothing but respectful. The occasional wisecrack, but I'll give him the paintbrush when I see him. I'll keep him in line. I gotta have an assistant. Everybody else had super assistant Alex, and we'll get on to that. So can't I have an assistant? Jay? JB? Jay Brody? So we understand what's going on there. The video montages by Avi, they're a good 5, 6, 7 minutes. Brings everything from history and a retrospective and just an unbelievable view and lines from all the competitors and videos and video highlights put together with some tremendous music. And it breaks it down and it shows all the competitors. And it really is. The videos alone are worth watching, the green room. And then who appears, and I definitely had to wear shades, none other than our host for the evening, Golden Fine Klein. Golden Fine, looking spiffy, Mr. Golden Fine. So let's kick on. Let that, as I like to say, and I used it way too many times, so I won't say marinate, but sit back and ponder that. Let's try to change the vocabulary and words around. Golden Fine Klein. Again, the video montages, I mention it all the time, but we start off like Avi has been doing the last several weeks when he gets into the green room. You notice the matchups in the lineup card and who he starts off and who's in the middle and who's at the end. It's kind of like a savvy screenplay writer, script guy, even somebody sitting in Gorilla, whoever's running the locker room, whatever you want to say. I don't want to give too many references because it's wrestling with anything but this is the green room. He starts off hot, hits you fast, captures the fans, gets everybody in and brings star power and legendary names right from the rip. Interesting people. That's what he's been doing. You see who he's been putting in prime time against certain other big organizations and then who he puts in the main event. So there's a lot to be said for that. The placement. So give Avi credit. We start off with Mr. Face Value himself, the former Hugh Morris, and that would be one OG of the WWAB, who's had a lot to say about being pulled apart and what's going on and what's Avi doing, and it should be in-house, and that would be one who comes into my house every Tuesday night at 5:30, Bill DeMott from Face Value. So now Bill gets on, and you don't know where Avi's going to go, who he's going to bring in. He could bring in somebody from the past, somebody from the present. No, and Avi could bring in somebody from the future. So he talks to Bill. Bill says, finally, he's here. He's ready. Let the competition begin. It's always great to see Bill DeMott. And out of nowhere, who appears? Someone who not only have I been able to work with on some of the same events years ago, been able to be in the ring with and around, a gentleman who's still current and relevant to this day. Heck, we served on the same side for Judge Laurinaitis in the trial of Howard Collado. And that would be one, and they're old Jersey friends, and he really threw a curveball at Bill DeMott. If you were in Yankee Stadium, and Avi was the pitcher and Bill was the batter, here comes the curve, maybe a slider. Bill swings and misses, and who does Avi come out with? Crowbar. Perhaps one of the most interesting men that gives one of the best vignettes and promos in the history of pro wrestling. So he hits home. God bless you, thank you. Unedited, unscripted, that's what you get here. But he hits home. It comes up with Crowbar. Now, you know there's a big history. Bill DeMott trained Crowbar. They're from the same area. They're old buddies. This is student versus teacher. I really can't believe the history. And if you know the history and they oozed it, listen, there was a lot of mutual respect. DeMott was caught off guard like you wouldn't believe. And Crowbar, looking magnificent and still a guy that's relevant to this day. So nice pleasantries, but they realize it's competition. And you're going to see that as we go on. So Avi pulls out, now listen, Avi's thing, he pulls out the photo, whether it's going to be a single elimination, one and done, or if it's going to be a 2 out of 3. Avi pulls out a photo of one Bill DeMott. So it's 2 out of 3. So these guys aren't going anywhere. Here's the first challenge, a debate. And I still can't believe that Crowbar is back on the WWAB. What a challenge this ought to be. The first challenge is a debate between Bill DeMott and Crowbar. So this is what you have. Bill, on this first challenge, in favor of The Godfather versus Star Wars. That as the greatest of all time. Now, Bill is supposed to be pro-Godfather. Let me break it down and explain it to you the right way. DeMott has to debate or come up with a reason why he's in favor of The Godfather versus the Star Wars as the greatest of all time. And again, Bill is pro-Godfather. He lays out a beautiful scenario and leans towards The Godfather, obviously. That's what Avi presents. So that was very entertaining. Crowbar, in turn, has to debate the opposite and why he's in favor of Star Wars as opposed to The Godfather is the greatest of all time. Now, of course, Bill mentions all the Godfathers and the different history and the legendary stories. Again, this is pure satire and parody of the legendary mobs and stuff like that. Bill DeMott hits the history right on the money. He looks like he could be one of the hitmen from the mob, doesn't he? I'm just saying. And then Crowbar, really, now I'm not a big Star Wars fan or Godfather fan. Of course, I've seen them both. But Crowbar breaks down everything from Hans to Obi-Wan Kenobi to Darth Vader like he was in the movie himself. He kind of looks like he could belong in Star Wars. So he really laid out a debate that made me kind of watch Star Wars as opposed to The Godfather. I'm just giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm giving you the eye test here on round 1, night 3 of the Green Room, the 64-person tournament to determine who's going to be the host. But we know that, so let's forge ahead. So we get down to the votes. We know the voters are Pete and Avi. Pete votes Crowbar. Avi votes Crowbar. And quickly, just like that, from the rip, after all the pleasantries, Crowbar's up 1-0 in this game. Now, Bill protests Pete. And remember what I said on the previous 5 shows and what's been happening here from the beginning since Pete kind of screwed over James from right guard, rode in as the money man, reset, spin the wheel. We know all that in the history there. Pete has had heat with myself, Del Wilkes, other several competitors in this tournament, and now Bill DeMott. Go back and check out the videotapes. Pete has come on very strong here as someone who I guess it's his right. It's part of his competition. He's the national sponsor. But remember that, Pete, you develop a lot of enemies, and we're going to go on to what happens with you and now how it could possibly affect your future of the green room, Pete from Sharpie. I'm just telling you what I see here, brother. So, again, 1-0, that quick. We go to the second challenge, which is a series of Q&As allegedly from the fans. That's the way Avi presents it. So we're going to see, and after the first thing there, the first one where Crowbar won the debate challenge is an up 1-0. Crowbar continues to, I don't know what you want to say, to carry on, go a little over the top in his explanation of Star Wars. And Avi, once again, kind of gets a little biased and gets all giddy and actually gives Crowbar extra credit. I don't know what that means in this competition, to get extra credit from Avi. Can anybody tell me what that means? Can I adjust my glasses to see what that means? Is anybody? Anyone? I know I use this in just about every episode, but it's relevant. Bueller? Anyone? So what does extra credit mean in this competition from Avi Klein? And how did Crowbar get it? So that's where Bill got pissed off. So Crowbar even says, and that's why the pleasantries left this matchup quickly, because Crowbar says to Bill, hey, don't get your panties in a bunch. So now the student is saying to the master, so to speak, of a trainer, grasshopper, weed hopper, kung fu. You get all the references, right? Crowbar says, don't get your panties in a bunch. That's no laughing matter to Bill DeMott. So things are getting heated up, and you see how quickly friends turn foes and long-time histories and rivals gets thrown out of it's business, man. It's business. And when are you people going to understand that? Avi said it many times. People fall by the wayside. They quit. They fire. They walk away. Hey, it is what it is, brother. I'm just telling you. So we get on to the personal animosity. Now, here's the question, the Q&A from the fans. Bill, where does the hatred for David come from? Now, there seems to be a pattern. I'll let it out of the box now so we can move forward. I don't know. Personally, I've questioned things. I know Jay Brony has online before in the chat room. The questions, a couple of them seem to, as we go on here, and I'll let the cat out of the bag now, as I said, Taekwon and Lucinda. Remember the names Taekwon and Lucinda? Never really see their posts on there. Several people have gotten back to me that are in this tournament as competitors. They've never seen any actual live chat posts. Now, Avi has, so let's see what happens. These questions are a little... as we mentioned, Taekwon and Lucinda, David Holliday all of a sudden is popped in by Avi and is boom, boom, in and off the screen. A lot of subliminal messages if you're paying attention. Bill, so where does the hatred from? That's what he has to describe and break down to the fans from this Q&A here. In turn, Crowbar has to explain what makes him a better host than Bill DeMott, who already has his own show on the network. Face value, I already said it. So very interesting questions. They're kind of personal. One is a little weird and out of the box. And why are you asking about David Holliday? And Crowbar's Crowbar gave an excellent explanation of why he would be someone to be involved with the WWAB. You've seen his promos. You've seen his vignettes. You know his history. He would be a great addition to any roster. And he broke it down into why. He almost had me believing he could be a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or definitely a competitor and maybe even have his own show. That's how good Crowbar is. Very linguistic. So I'll give him credit. So you see what's happening, what's heating up as we move on round 1, night 3 in the Green Room tournament. The Q&A continues. And Crowbar at this point, again, is another reference. He actually says, hey, Bill, maybe we'll get back in the ring someday. Is there ever a chance? So you see what's happening here between two legends, and especially Bill DeMott. Hey, listen, WWE, Hugh Morris, WCW, MTV. Do I have to movies? Bill DeMott is a world traveler. There isn't anything he hasn't done. Not to mention, he probably couldn't even fit in this screen. That's how large Bill DeMott is. He really is a big guy. So Crowbar, who's also in great shape and agile, can move around the ring, is a physical challenge. Could this be what Avi's talking about, physical challenge? Are these guys going to step in the ring maybe? I don't know. It's 2 out of 3. I don't know. Avi's always changing the rules, and you're going to see that. So here we go with the Q&A again. Lucinda, Taekwon, I'm not sure what's going on. Bill, will it be bittersweet to beat Crowbar? And of course, Bill is humble and respectful, the kind of man that he is that tells it like it is. Gives a great soliloquy and compliments Crowbar, mutual respect. So he gives that question about Crowbar, which probably should have been the first question, very pertinent by Avi. But then he asks Crowbar, which Star Wars movie was your favorite and why? Back to the Star Wars, right in his wheelhouse. So I don't know where Avi's coming up. He's not presenting these questions. These are alleged Q&A from you, the fans, the viewers. I don't buy it. I don't see these kind of silly questions being sent through my email or inboxing. And Jay Brody says he doesn't see any of that in the chat room. And a lot of people get back to me that are even competitors that say they don't see these. So I don't know where they're coming from. Crowbar, I notice, although challenging, and this is where it throws you off a little bit, he's kind of like Pinocchio Joe did to Pete from Sharpie, kind of like Pinocchio Joe does to Mickey Doyle, always kissing ass. Crowbar's kind of kissing the big man's buttocks, so to speak. I mean, he's got no caboose like Avi Klein, if you listen to Pete from Sharpie, or Avi himself. But there's a little ass kissing going on. No caboose, but ass. I could say that here. So that's what I know. I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Listen, you got to do your homework, your due diligence, your research, and that's what I do. So we go on to another Q&A, and the question is here for, again, it's Taekwon that's asking this question. So Avi asks, and this is very odd and very weird, how do you feel about International Taekwon Day that's being celebrated or going to be celebrated? Now, Bill DeMott is surrounded by question marks, right? He's like, what's going on here? Well, I don't understand what's going on here. Taekwon, Lucinda, International Taekwon Day. Bill DeMott doesn't give a damn about International Taekwon Day. So there's a trend here of going on. I don't know what's happening. Crowbar has to get, here's the softball that's lobbed up, whether it's from Pete or from Avi. I don't know what's going on. Avi's acting kind of weird at this point during this first bout to open up the green room. I'm just telling you what I notice. He asks Crowbar about his favorite or his Mount Rushmore of Mount 80s sitcoms, which I think is a great question. 80s sitcoms, 80s music, the 80s in general, 80s grappling, 80s everything was pretty damn good. I'll say that to say this as we move on, because I tell it like it is. So now Crowbar comes up with this easily. He's no spring chicken. I mean, he's no Billy Goat either, if that even makes sense. But Crowbar comes up and he names shows like Full House, Growing Pains, Charles in Charge, Greatest American Hero, which none of them I would have named. None of them. I wouldn't have named not one of those shows as one of my shows. Now, maybe for my kids. I don't know how much older I am than Crowbar. All worthy series, but kind of a weird bunch coming from Crowbar. I would have thought it would have been a little more deep. I'm just giving you my honest opinion. Avi and Crowbar now, reference back to Bill DeMott's question, actually said that he has a cake and he's down for International Taekwon Day. He's going to get a cake and maybe they can all get together. Avi and Taekwon and Lucinda and Crowbar. That's really what's happening. They're almost humiliating the big man. I didn't like it. I felt kind of weird about it. Although it was a friendly, great, hot opening segment, you see where it was trending there. Taekwon, it's been questioned before. So that right there was a little weird. And then our Avi and Crowbar start going back, and they start talking about the greatest American hero. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I didn't really like that show either. That just shows you my versatility and my range. I don't have to know the words. So Avi jumps in. He's all happy, says it was a great show, and they actually start referencing George Costanza. Seinfeld gets in, and Avi and Crowbar are going back and forth talking about the episode where George Costanza alluded to the same thing. Believe it or not, I'm a... whatever George was doing in the legendary episodes of Seinfeld. Look, I start talking about Seinfeld and George Costanza and what Avi's doing, and this is slowly like when Jake the Snake Roberts threw the snake on my neck after I took the 660-pound leg drop from Yokozuna, and it wrapped around my neck, kind of like the same way. Thanks to Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Julio De Niro abandoning me there at ringside. Not one of my prouder moments. It was relevant. It's not about me. It was relevant. I just wanted to throw that in there. This is what you get. It's my twist, my version of the green room. That's what this is. So I found it very weird there, but I did see that episode with Costanza and Seinfeld. So here comes the votes. Pete comes back in. Right off the rip, Pete votes for Crowbar. Avi, obviously, that's right, Avi, obviously. You see what I did there again. Avi also votes for Crowbar. So, and again, no fan vote. You, the fans, have not been involved in the show so far yet, as we're 30 minutes here on the review of round 1, night 3 of the Green Room. So no fan vote. That's it. Pete and Avi vote for Crowbar. Fanute, Crowbar is up 1-0. Unbelievable. I consider this to be an upset. Thank God it's a best 2 out of 3. I'm sure Bill DeMott is going to be none too happy. He's been very outspoken about this from the rip, what he feels about the WWAB and everything else that's combined with it. So that right there was a great way, to me, a huge upset. Crowbar's up 1-0. At this point, David Holliday, the main eventer, pops back in. He's on the show more last night on night 3 than was on the show when he was a contestant with Jamie Sparling in the main event. Why, David? Take the night off. Relax. Do some homework. Do some research. Maybe do some acting. Get in touch with I don't know, your late great or current uncle Davis Jubilee. Just things that I noticed. Just things that I'm picking up on. Bill DeMott is stunned at this point, as you can well tell, and he's pissed. He's none too happy. He mentioned something that I like and that I thought to myself when he gave the speech on night 2 of round 1 of this tournament, before he finally was able to get into the tournament of the Green Room. He has his own show. He doesn't need the Green Room, Bill DeMott. But he mentioned, again, the breakup of the WWAB, potentially, and what has happened here with letting all these people in and resetting this tournament, how it's affected the rest of the lineup. He mentions Abbott and Costello. He mentions Laurel and Hardy. He mentions the Rat Pack, Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, so on and so forth. He mentions the legendary teams and families and groups and duos. Very well said. You could see that Bill DeMott certainly has all the question marks surrounding him after night 3 of the Green Room. It really was quite the matchup. And Avi, way to start the show off. You don't need my approval. I'm just throwing it out there. We continue to another unbelievable video montage. This is what I do. I break it down segment by segment. That's why we're usually here for an hour, at least. We go on to the bombshell that was already announced, and he's a part of the WWAB network, and that would be one. Sexual Chocolate, as I call him, but the 2-time Olympian, the world's strongest man, WWE Hall of Famer, on the #1 show in Sirius XM that beats every show on that whole network, and that would be one Mark Henry, who's co-host of Busted Open Radio, and now a part of the WWAB. What Mark Henry said last night resonated with the competitors, the fans, his fellow Hall of Famers, his fellow OGs. Mark Henry laid it out and laid it on the line in a monologue that could be one of the most powerful to ever been presented here on the WWAB network. You talk about professionals. You talk about guys that know how to lay out a product and could become the face of a product. A professional who's worked in the biggest companies for years. What Mark Henry laid out was as good as watching Michael Winslow when Avi interviewed him. As good as watching Sally Kirkland. God bless dear Sally. As good as watching Timothy Busfeld. As good as watching Peter Melman. That's how good Mark Henry is as good as watching Ken Patera, Paul Roma, Don Morocco, Del Wilkes, Duke Drosy, Ray Lloyd. I could go on forever and ever. That's the quality. And I had goosebumps when Mark Henry. Listen. He gave a powerful opening. I was hoping he was going to maybe somebody was in the area and we could see the world's strongest slam. So to have Mark Henry on and just to listen to him and how he resonated, it really was something to behold and something that personally is relatable to yours truly. So just to have him on was unbelievable. Here's where things got crazy. And again, talk about seamless transitions. Seamless transition, professionals, whatever you want to call it. This is what you do. That's how it's done. Sit back. School's in session. What Avi Klein pulled off in this segment of the show in the very opening in the seamless transition to go on and make it a star-studded 5-star night for the green room again, within the first 30 minutes of the show, well over 1,000 shares, well over a million live viewers. It was amazing. The numbers poured in, and it showed with the talent. Mark Henry, before his opponent is announced, because Avi says whether it's male or female, woman, Mark Henry says, like we all have thought and said, and it's taught in the Bible, and I listen to Pastor Andy McDaniel, and we're all spiritual, and during these hard times, and just looking at everyone for who they are, and not judging people by what they look like, where they come from. You judge people by the content of who they are as a person, how they treat you, their character as a person. You don't judge them by what other people think or preconceived notions. You give people a chance. That's what Mark Henry talks about in his monologue that really hits home to a guy like me and the people and the folks that Avi have put together on this WWAB family. He says woman is the extension of the man. As we all know, it says in the Bible, from the rib of man to walk alongside, side by side, not in front of, not behind. I'm not here to get religious and break down the Bible. I'm saying what Mark Henry said, and I've read myself, and that's the truth. So just to lay it out there and to be honest, it was refreshing to see in the middle of all the chaos, a pun intended, of the green room. So that was great. And in turn, this is where it's announced that one pastor, Reverend Sally Kirkland, the great Emmy Award winner, the true legendary actress who's on live herself nightly just about. Dear Sally Kirkland, the film TV legend, is Mark Henry's opponent. And wow, talk about the numbers going up and the comments flooding in. It was truly, truly amazing. Before they get going, because Sally isn't brought in right away, it's still Mark Henry and Avi. Avi pulls out a photo of Mark. So again, the seamless transition, it's going to be a 2 out of 3. So we're all happy about that. We're still waiting for Sally to come in. But for whatever reason, tech-wise, whatever happens, it's in God's hands. It's things beyond our control. You can't control Mother Nature. You can't control technology. Hey, it happens. Sally couldn't get in. So Mark Henry, by rule, because Avi had to, because of technology, we move on for the show. And this is a business. And if anyone would understand, it would be the Reverend Sally Kirkland, or someone who is such a legend in film herself, award-winning actress. So Mark Henry, Avi makes a split decision. Boom. This is what happens when you're a leader, not a follower. Take decisions into your own hands, and you make that decision, and you stick by it, and you own it, and that's what Avi did. Mark Henry wins via technical disqualification. That's a decision that was made, and Mark Henry moves on. So what a shocking turn of events, but that's to the WWAB network's gain, because now Mark Henry, not only is he a part of the family, he has to come back to the green room to face somebody. Who knows who it will be? Could be me, but I don't know. I got to worry about my own matchup. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Pinocchio Joe, but we're talking about Mark Henry. So that's the decision that was made. It came down from the top. Listen, Avi announces the new show. This is the bottom line. The new show with Mark Henry and Avi Klein to debut is going to be called All In. Wow. Talk about an impact to the WWAB network and bringing in another Hall of Famer. It doesn't get any bigger than that. Stay tuned for Mark Henry, the Hall of Famer, the world's strongest man, former Olympian for this God-given country, is going to be all in with Avi Klein. And don't you dare miss it. Unbelievable turn of events. So really, really was something. So we move on, we move forward, but remember, I'm going to go back into the future to make a Michael J. Fox and a movie reference. I'm going to go back into the future. Stand by, because I told you about twists and turns. We're 40 minutes in. We'll go as long as it takes to cover this and break it down. I hope you're watching. I appreciate you, the fans, as does the WWAB network. This is coverage in addition to what the great things they're doing over there. I'm a sidebar. I'm here because I enjoy, I have passion, and to show you fans and get an insight to who I am, what I do, and what I could provide for the network, for you, for their sponsors, for Avi Klein. A golden fine, Klein. And that's not kissing ass. That isn't. That's telling it like it is. Yeah, you see what happens. You see what happens as we're 40 minutes in here. No break, no water, no nothing. This is what we do. I'll go on all day. Get out, clown. Really? Get out, clown? Why? I'm an asset, man. Let's get on to Back to the Future. All in, Mark Henry. I just want to say that. So in comes another video montage. We quickly get introduced to In the Name of Love matchup. And that would be one Alex Svengali, as I call him, the assistant to damn near everybody in the green room at one point or another. Holiday, Collado, Mickey Doyle, Davis Jubilee, super assistant. Now, listen, I agree with Alex, the Svengali, if you will. You know, this whole tryst that's going on with Alex and Davis and of course, Dahlia Jubilee, and I'll get on to that. Things are about to turn here on the show, on the green room, as are they here down in the bunker. But it's true to have an assistant, just like I have Jay Brony. Hey, listen, Mickey Doyle has Pinocchio Joe, PJ. Well, I have Jay Brony. Everybody's got an assistant, so I understand, and they work hard. Alex works hard. He's very talented, and you know what? He looks good. He's easy on the eyes himself. I got to say, Alex, I'm confident that I could say that. So when we bring in Alex, the whole love interest, and of course, the ex or current, I don't know what the status is. I know one thing. She certainly got a couple of people with the blood flow around on the green room at her age and stage of life. She still got the mojo, if you know what I'm talking about. Ask Pete from Sharpie. Don't think I don't notice these things. The ex of Davis Jubilee, Dahlia. So Avi brings in Alex and Dahlia Jubilee. Listen, I've been looking forward to this one. This one ought to be very interesting to have here on night 3. Out of nowhere, Avi disappears. Out comes Howard Collado. I don't know what happens. Avi's gone. Vanish. I don't know who he is. Casper, the friendly ghost? I don't know. But we get reports and we hear, and again, this is live. Not like this. This is live to tape. Avi is live. We hear news flash that breaks through. Sally Kirkland is back. The issues have been cleared up again. You can't control destiny. You can't control things that are of biblical proportions. You can't control any of this stuff. Sally Kirkland is back. She's on, the award-winning actress who was supposed to go up against Mark Henry. But again, seamless transition. This is what I talk about. Howard Collado actually kind of breaks kayfabe, if you will, and starts talking to Reverend Sally about things that are very interesting out there. They start talking about the ministry, and it just, wow. Now, I don't know where this is going to lead. The fans don't know at this time. Jay reported to me he doesn't know what's going on. Obviously, still not on screen. It's Howard and Sally in a very engaging conversation, and Sally actually said that Howard was handsome. Wow. Howard must have been happy. But I got to say, Howard, very professional, handled yourself, and you got into a great conversation, impromptu, with Sally Kirkland, a true legend. And Sally, wow, she's still easy on the eyes. God bless you, Sally Kirkland. And she makes it back into the green room. So out of nowhere, Again, this is what happens on the green room. You never know what's going to happen. Avi's back, and who's in to challenge Sally because she's back in the competition? Pete from Sharpie, the national sponsor. Pete from Sharpie is in the competition. Listen, I think he's been getting warmed up. He's been doing these preview wrap-ups, review shows at the beginning. He comes in, he votes. He's well-versed. I like the hair, lack thereof. So what a surprise matchup. This was mystery night last night. Mystery Saturday night on the green room. And this is what happened. Sally Kirkland and Pete from Sharpie. Who knew? Who knew? Avi comes in, again, seamless, comes up with a trivia challenge. Here we go. This is another matchup in the green room. You never know what's going to happen. Sally gets the categories from Avi Klein. 80s basketball, 80s films, and 80s music. Sally Kirkland, boom, goes to 80s films. Now, Avi's going to jump off with a bunch of questions. Listen, what a smart category to pick for Sally Kirkland. It's not like she's going to pick 80s basketball, but 80s films, here we go. Avi doles out 6 questions. I'm not going to repeat them all. We'll be here for 3 hours. But he lays out a series of 6 questions. Sally Kirkland gets 4 out of 6 when it comes to films. You knew that was going to happen. She's an award-winning actress. Listen, she's a woman of faith. Unbelievable, a true icon, and sharp as a tack. You can't get anything over on Sally Kirkland. I really have to say that. And wow, Sally knocks it out of the box. Again, true professionals. You never know who's going to show up. TV, film, music, sports, pro wrestling, entertainment. This is what you get in the green room. While that's happening, right, as Sally knocks it out of the box, 4 out of 6, she'd be in the Hall of Fame no matter what sport she played, including Hollywood. This is what Avi announces. Another news flash. Mark Henry will get a new opponent. He will still be, as I said, in the competition. He will get a new opponent. So moving forward, as Sally's going up against Pete from Sharpie, Avi drops another bomb. Mark Henry, all in, that was announced, is all in this tournament and will get another mystery opponent. I don't know what's going to happen here on the green room. Let's get back to Sally Kirkland and Pete from Sharpie. Now, Avi's laying out a series of questions in that genre. 80s basketball, 80s films, 80s music. Pete, I didn't know you played ball. He goes with 80s basketball. Bad mistake, Pete. Bad mistake. What? I don't want to get too crazy here. Really, Pete? You picked basketball? You may know basketball, but you're no historian like Avi Klein of the NBA. I mean, come on. If he's Jerry West, who are you? Bill Cartwright? Oh, no disrespect. I'm just saying. Well, is there a resemblance between Bill Cartwright and Pete from Sharpie? Oh, I don't think so. But here we go. Avi lays out the questions, and we didn't even have to get through 6 questions. Pete was wrong on the first one. Well, he actually got the first one right out of the box about 80s basketball. Wrong on the second one, wrong on the third one, wrong on the fourth one. Pete likes baseball. Let's be honest. Boom, 1 out of 4. Didn't even have to get. The odds were in Sally's favor. Boom, Pete, see you later. Booted out. Sally wins. She's up 1-0, but I'm assuming this is best 2 out of 3. Sally Kirkland, still sharp as a tack. I'm glad she made it back on. Avi made it seamless. The way he juggled around the legend Mark Henry to Sally Kirkland to Howard coming in and showing that he could pull off if he was host of the Green Room. He showed me a lot right there, Howard Collado. Not that he has to show me anything, but I hope everybody, including the sponsors and Avi, were paying attention to what Howard Collado did right there. So it really, truly was amazing. And then to get Pete involved with it, Mark Henry gets a new opponent. Sally goes up 1-0 on Pete. Pete, you were out of your league with the 80s basketball. So that was a shocker. And that's why the show at that point was well over 1 million viewers. Think about that. Let's take a quick break. We're 50 minutes in. Stay to the end. Make a comment. Repost this. Share it. Do whatever it is that you have to do, but get this out there. We have a whole week to let this set in. You could watch this before Maintaining the Truth. Another great show. Before Unmasking the Truth tonight with Del Wilkes. Go out there. Listen to this. Watch this. This is a product for you, the fans, you, the competitors, and you, the people. Give me a quick second here. It's early. I hope I'm not waking up the coyotes and mountain lions and bears. Wasn't that in a movie? Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Judy Garland? Anyone? Wizard of Oz? Hold on to that. We have things going on here. Sugar-free. See, there's no one here to bring in while I'm taking a break here. Like Avi could take a sip off his tea or coffee or whatever beverage of choice. And he usually has Holiday or Colado covering up for him. I don't have anyone here to cover up for me. Jay Brony doesn't live here. He's on a train somewhere. I don't know what's going on. He hasn't called me or anything. It's not shtick. This is true to reality. Did I say that? So unbelievable segment. We bounce back here on round 1, night 3. There, my reference to Back to the Future. Stay with me. We go back to the super assistant Alex and Dahlia Jubilee. Alex is very effervescent, wouldn't you say? And Dahlia is muy caliente. Hey, listen, she still got it. Pete, would you agree? Pete from Sharpie? Here's the first challenge. First off, Avi pulls out a photo, and it's a photo of Alex. A face only a mother could love. It's 2 out of 3 for Dahlia Jubilee and super assistant Alex, who's doesn't want to be an assistant anymore. Here's the first challenge. It's improv. Avi Klein chooses improv. Now, Alex, again, effervescent, flamboyant. Hey, listen, it is what it is. I like the guy. We like his character. We like who he is as a person. We don't judge. Remember? Anybody. Well, no one judges me. Well, Avi judges me. But that's not about me right now. Alex in the improv has to play a Harley Davidson aficionado. And he's got to say, why is it taking so long to fix my bike to the mechanic? And the mechanic is Pete from Sharpie. Who knew he would play such a role? What an addition to the team. Not only as a sponsor, this guy has a future. So now Alex, picture Alex being a Harley aficionado to begin with. And now he's got to break it down to his mechanic, Pete. That was the first improv. Very impressive. Listen, Alex and Dahlia did a great job in their whole performance on the green room. They really did. They put their best efforts into it. It was highly entertaining. It was a nice transition through the show to keep the levity and energy flowing throughout the green room on night 3. Dahlia had to play a bouncer at a nightclub hitting on Pete. Therefore, my reference to blood flow, Pete, whether it be Jessica or Miranda or Maria or, I don't know, maybe Mindy in the future, and now, really? Now Dahlia Jubilee? Who are you, Mickey Doyle? Let me find out, Pete. You seem very engaging. Anyway, pretty interesting, Dahlia being a bouncer. I mean, here's a lady 5'1", 5'0", the silver hair, the impact of her glow, and she's a bouncer. She pulled it off. She did well. We go on to the second improv. Dahlia has to play a frustrated girlfriend of Davis Jubilee speaking to psychiatrist Pete. Now, this hits close to home. This is what I think is going on. I mentioned it in my last preview, show number 5. You're here, show number 6, live to tape, down in the bunker, covering the green room. So that wasn't too far off. So Dahlia, I kind of felt like I was sitting on a session of the Serene Room, or actually an actual counseling session. Pete, you impressed me once again. So Dahlia, very frustrated. Choose some ice. What do you want me to tell you, Dahlia? You picked him. And then Alex has to play in his improv. Now, neither one of these folks are actors or actresses. Alex has to play Davis Jubilee trying to get a workout with his new trainer, Pete from Sharpie. So Pete handling several different things, to being a mechanic, to being a patron, getting hit on, to being a psychiatrist, to now being a personal trainer. Geez, Pete. So now Alex really hit it out of the box. I'm going to say that to say this. It was he really went at Pete. These skits were fantastic, the improv, if you will. We move on to the next improv that Avi throws out. Dahlia has to play a laid back, sort of mellow Fortune 500 company owner with Pete, and that the skit was just acting like she, was mellow and laid back as she was trying to talk to Pete, and he was trying to warn her about certain things at this Fortune 500 company. She did good. She was very laid back. Maybe she talked to Miranda in the serene room, but well done by Dahlia. Intern Alex had to be an ultra depressed serial killer who talks to Pete, who's the victim. Where do you come up with this stuff, Avi? An ultra depressed serial killer? Well, Pete, not for nothing. I hope that's not true. You were well, no, let me not. I said Pete. I meant to say Alex. Pete, we don't want you to be a victim here. So Alex, totally not in his character, but shows his range. But Alex, a high energy, effervescent, flamboyant, if you will. That's what I said. So both of these folks really did hit it out of the box. I want to go to the votes through this. The first vote, Pete voted for Dahlia. Again, I don't know what's going on, but Pete voted for Dahlia. Not saying it's a bad vote. Avi, in turn, voted for Alex. Okay, so we go to the fans' vote, because it's tied 1-1 here with the votes through the improv. So finally, the fans get involved. Remember, Pete voted for Dahlia. Avi voted for Alex. They're tied 1-1. The fans vote. Bang. They came in fast and furious, and the fans like Dahlia Jubilee. I was surprised. I thought it would have been a little bit closer because they both performed fantastic. Bottom line, Dahlia's up 1-0 in this improv debate. We go on to the second challenge, which, not an improv debate, an actual debate. Okay, here's the first question. Alex, why do you think Mr. T is the greatest actor? Now remember, Dahlia's up 1-0. Here's the question, the second challenge debate, Alex and Dahlia. The question from Avi, why do you think Mr. T is the greatest actor of that genre? Believe it or not, I'm going to point out this because I say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alex didn't know who Chuck Norris was. Didn't know who Rob Van Dam was. Didn't know who Steven Seagal was. But I guess he knew Mr. T. Boy, I'll tell you, that segment right there was hilarious. So Alex did okay with Mr. T on the debate challenge. Dahlia, in turn, had to say why the California Raisins were underrated as performers. The California Raisins. Where do these questions come from? But again, you never know. He doesn't give you any previews. He doesn't tell you any clues. The California Raisins. I heard it through the grapevine. Just about to lose my mind. Honey, honey, I wanna be my baby. Do. The California Raisins. Well, listen, what a challenge. Both competitors, again, did well. Dahlia and Alex knocked it out of the box. The California Raisins, Mr. T. Where are we going on the green room? The debate continues. Alex was asked by Avi, and here's the debate, why his love for Dahlia exceeds hers for him. This is where it got a little mushy. This is where people had napkins and tears and kumbaya, amor, whatever it is, kind of, I don't know. Alex pleaded his love for Dahlia. This is where it got really personal. In turn, Dahlia was asked by Avi, vice versa. Why does her love exceed Alex's for hers? Amor, como si bella. So it kind of got a little sick and disgusting at that point. But we go to the votes. Pete votes Alex. Avi votes Alex. I was surprised. No fan vote. The fans, although very active in the chat, did not play a big part in the votes. So now we're tied 1-1. It's tied 1-1. We go to a tiebreaker. Avi's going to make it simple because he's always changing the rules. We're going to do this. We're coming up on an hour. Alex calls. Heads or tails? Tails it is. A simple flip of a toss for sudden death. a flip of a coin. It's like we're at the Super Bowl. I don't know if anybody bet on the odds, but Alex wins. The bottom line, Alex up 1-0 in the best of 3 against Dahlia Jubilee. This was an impressive matchup. Alex, super assistant over Dahlia Jubilee. So there we go. We're 1 hour in. Don't go anywhere. We still have a lot to cover. We're getting up to the 5th matchup of the night, and that would be former national sponsor, current national sponsor, I don't know, RG James from right guard against, I don't know, Jay put this out there in the chat. Is she Gucci or a knockoff? The podcast queen, the long black hair, very arrogant, but very entertaining. Is Jessica Gucci or knockoff? Leave a comment. You tell us. I'm not saying it, Jessica. It just was said out there in the chat room. Jay Brony said it. And again, James from right guard. Now remember something about this from night 2. Jessica's up 1-0. James, your back is against the wall. You can be out of here. This is the best 2 out of 3. But James, you're down 1-0. This was another important matchup that kept the green room flowing and the numbers rising. James, again, I'm going to refer to it. I don't know. Jay said it. He texted me last night. He put it up in the chat live. What happened in Vegas? What happened in Vegas between you and Pete, and now you're both involved here? A couple years back, what happened? It's going to come out. I have people on it. Not only that, James, 20 years ago when you originally hooked up with Avi and wanted to be his first investor, what happened there too? We got bits and pieces, but there's a whole tryst. You talk about Davis Jubilee, Dahlia Jubilee, and Alex. What about Avi, James, and Pete connection? They're the higher ups and the ones in charge here. That hasn't been exposed. I'm still digging. And I know you're listening. I know you're watching. We'll see where it goes. Whether I'm in it to win it, I get bounced, I move on to win, it doesn't matter. I will find out one way or another. So Alex is up 1-0. We go into another excellent montage. Yes, congratulations, Avi Klein. I love your work. RG James against Jessica. Jessica's up 1-0. This is an elimination. The first challenge is an improv. James has to be a half dog, half human, trying to get adopted by who? Again, one Pete, who plays his biggest role ever since the Great Reset by Avi and Pete for this tournament, where Howard and David did get screwed. The green room screw job. Pete is involved in, again, the biggest night he's been involved since the reset. So now, James is half dog, half human, trying to get adopted by Pete. This was hilarious. I will say that. James, you stepped out of the box. You looked a little tired last night, James. What has Jessica got you running ragged because you're down 1-0? What is Avi putting pressure on you? Right guard putting pressure on you, James? Were you ready last night? You did okay. But something's going on. Jessica's improv, again, neither one of these folks are actresses or actors. Give James and Jessica a lot of credit. James went from being a leader to being thrown into the fire as a competitor because he wants it that bad. I think he should have stuck to being a sponsor. Jessica has to play a school teacher on a first date with Pete, but she can't stop laughing. Now, you remember back to night 2, I think there was a little something going on between Pete and Jessica when she had to persuade him to watch a movie. I remember these things. Go back and watch this because it's there. Go back and check out the replay of the green room. It's there. So that was pretty entertaining. And I think Pete is a little bit like Mickey Doyle. I've been saying it when it comes to the women. There could be something in the closet. Hey, listen, we said it. And I'll get on to Todd Bridges because that was an excellent part of this show. Everybody has a past. Everybody has a past. And I'm just letting it slip and giving away a spoiler. Different Strokes. 92 different films. Todd Bridges is coming up. Don't go anywhere. Sit right there. Back to RG James. James from right guard and Jessica. So we go to the laughing where Jessica has to play a school teacher. Again, Pete very involved in this. We go to the next improv challenge, which continues. Now, James is a tired, sleepy, disinterested cable guy who's trying to help Pete, or sell cable to Pete. James seemed very disinterested in this improv, that's for sure. I don't know where they come up with. I don't know where Avi comes up with these challenges. It makes me grab my head and scratch my head. Very interesting. So James, very sleepy. You looked a little sleepy, James. Trying to sell cable to Pete. I don't know the connection there. It's a little weird to me. I'm just throwing out what I observed, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Jessica now in her improv has to play a doctor who has a memory loss and forgets everything about her patient, Pete. Another improv challenge that I got to say, she did well. Let's move on to the second challenge, which is a debate. No votes yet. No votes are in yet. A lot of comments coming in through the chat room. The show's going seamless. The numbers are increasing and staying the same. What a night. What a night 3 was. Here's the second challenge, a debate. James has to say and convince why gummy bears are the greatest ice cream topping of all time. I don't like gummy bears. Well, CBD maybe. Those are legal. CBD gummy bears, yeah. Those I could go for. But James is trying to say why they're the greatest topping on an ice cream. In turn, Jessica has to say, why is caramel topping the greatest topping of all time on ice cream? So both debates that went out there, they both made their points. I think Jess was a little stronger. I don't like caramel or gummy bears. So they both put their best effort in it. I'll give both competitors credit. James is down with his back against the wall. Jessica's a little arrogant, very full of herself, but she has the right to be. She backed it up. She's up 1-0. Let's go to the votes, okay? Pete votes James. Avi votes James. Wow. James jumped right back into the fire. He's up 1-0 in this challenge right now against Jessica. So Jessica not being that nervous from what we saw on the green room. Here we go. The next debate, James has to say, who do you want eliminated and why? Very interesting questions, and it exposes a lot of details. James attacks, out of all the competitors, Alex, that was just on against Dahlia. Alex, the super assistant. James wants him out of the competition. In turn, Jessica, who do you want out of the competition? Avi asks. Avi goes right for the Queen of the South, as I call her, who's embroiled in a bitter feud with Miranda right now. And that would be one Maria. Jessica made no bones about it. She wants Maria out. She considers her not worthy, doesn't belong here. Just like James said about Alex, he's an assistant, will always be an assistant. He doesn't belong here. Two very revealing thoughts. Again, Miranda and Maria are embroiled in a bitter feud right now on the green room in this competition. Jessica throwing her hat into the fray. So two very exposing things there. Alex and Maria. Jessica and James want you out. I don't know what that means. Next, James has a method of, odd, weird question, a method of how to torture Avi Klein, or what would he do to torture Avi Klein? Throw him in a lion's den. That was the next debate that James from Right Guard, who has this long history with Golden Fine Klein, his old buddy, they go back like a recliner. That's what he has to come up with on this. The method of how to torture Avi Klein in a lion's den. Very graphic. In turn, Jessica has to describe how she would torture Avi Klein. She said, or the debate was, the challenge was, in a lava pit, a boiling hot lava pit. And Jessica went on to describe in detail of how she would boil Avi Klein like you would boil a stew in hot lava, kind of like a hot knife through butter. Wow, how graphic. The hairs of my chinny chin chin are standing up. I'm just going to say that to say this. The votes came in. As I alluded to, nothing has changed. Pete and Avi both voted for James. And I'll say that to say this. This was a close competition. James had his back against the wall. He came out not only as a former national sponsor, a current national sponsor, he came out as a legit contender. It's tied 1-1. James and Jessica, they'll be back for another matchup, which will be a basically single elimination. Jessica and James tied at 1-1, night 3 of the Green Room. Let that, as I said in the last episode, and I'll say it now since I haven't used it yet, let that sink in. Let that marinate. Wow, tied at 1-1. May Madness continues. Next, we go to David and Howard, two of the OGs, the originals of the Green Room. David and Howard do a little recap. Avi's off screen. I like the banter between the two originals who did get screwed by Avi Klein, by Pete, by this whole situation. They're talking about Bill DeMott, Sally Kirkland, Mark Henry. What a night it's been. The surprises, the legends, the icons. They even talk about, I find this kind of crazy, David talks about the Jubilees. Davis and Dahlia. So very interesting in the middle of the show as an intermission, so to speak, as we're an hour and 10 minutes in on this review of round 1, night 3 of Avi Klein's The Green Room single elimination bracket style tournament. David and Howard talking about the legends in the night of night 3. I found it interesting. They have chemistry, David and Howard. So let's move forward, because here comes something that we never expected, and I alluded to it a few minutes back, so I gave you the spoiler. Too bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. I had to. It was relevant. On comes of 92 films, as I said, TV, film, theater, lived a life of hard knocks, a man of redemption, a great family man. This interview opened up my eyes. I knew of his story, but people like to focus on the negative when this man is nothing but the positive, and how he brought up and taught the world and lived in the world at the same time. What an act to juggle. Who does Avi Klein bring in on a mystery night on the Green Room? Another legend of film and TV. In one, what you talking about, Willis? Todd Bridges, of Different Strokes fame, and many, many other shows, from Roots to all kinds of different shows, and Todd Bridges keeps it real. Avi comes up with a conversation, I don't want to call it an interview, between himself and Todd Bridges. They talk about everything from race to religion to the current state of affairs to Muhammad Ali to his career. And Todd Bridges kept it real. Again, Avi, you pulled it off. In the middle of the Green Room, mystery opponents, mystery stars, interviews, legends, icons. And then they talk about the book that Todd Bridges put out, raw, unscripted, unbelievable, tell it like it is. Killing Willis. Go out and get the book by Todd Bridges, Killing Willis. I haven't read it yet, but I know I'm going to go out and get it, and I'm going to read it, because Todd Bridges is an actor for the ages. A story of hard knocks, coming from the streets, coming from Hollywood at the same time, making it, having his own demons, overcoming them, and becoming the man that he is today. A man of faith, of character, of telling it like it is, of honesty, of reality. And just like Mark Henry did earlier, Todd Bridges laid it out. Ain't no half stepping. What an interview. Very eye-opening, very interesting. Everything from Different Strokes to Roots, and of course the book, Killing Willis. And you know what even made it more unbelievable? Again, Avi pulled it out of the hat. Mystery Saturday night, the 6th matchup of the night. Todd Bridges is in the competition for the Green Room. And who comes in? The infamous, famous actress, I don't want to say infamous, Diane Franklin. Google it. Go out right now. The unbelievable actress, Amityville Horror, all the different movies that she's been in. Career actress from Hollywood. Still a beautiful lady, intelligent. Avi brings in Diane Franklin from Hollywood. It doesn't get any better than that. Listen, I can't believe that we have Todd Bridges and Diane Franklin as a matchup here. That's why it was Mystery Saturday night. This is what Avi did. Let's jump right into the fray, because this caught everybody off guard. It really was incredible. We start off with trivia. This is what Avi comes up with out of nowhere. And he didn't pull out a picture. I believe this is a single elimination matchup. Okay, just like Stephen Lee in night 1 against Pretty Paul Roma from Maintaining the Truth was a single elimination. Huge upset, the biggest of the tournament so far. This is a single elimination bout. Award-winning actress Diane Franklin. And of course, what you talking about, Willis? I had to say that. Just like David Holliday, like I referenced. I had to say, I would cut him off, but he let him back in to say it. Todd Bridges, killing Willis. Different strokes. What a night. What a star-studded night. Trivia. Here we go. Todd's questions are from the 80s. Again, another great category that they used earlier, but I love this category. 80s sitcoms. Single elimination matchup. Diane Franklin, Todd Bridges. Here we go. First question. Bang. Todd Bridges gets it right. Second question. 80s sitcoms. Bang. Third question. Right. Fourth question. Right. Out of the box, Todd Bridges gets every question right about 80s sitcoms from Avi Klein. Of course he would. That's when he was a legend, an icon. Todd Bridges, I mean, unbelievable. We go to Diane. She now has to go with trivia with 80s music. Diane Franklin readily admitted she didn't know a lot about it. I'll give her credit. The first couple of questions Avi threw out at her, Diane got both of them wrong. So right there, it was something where Todd got all the questions right. Diane didn't get the category right in 80s music. So Todd Bridges is up against Diane Franklin 1-0 now. I can't even believe this competition is happening. The numbers when Todd Bridges came on and then bringing in Diane Franklin continue to rise at this point. It was unbelievable. So Todd is up 1-0 now in the competition from the sitcom trivias. Okay, and the music trivias. We go on to the game of the more underrated. The more underrated, Avi comes up with in this matchup, the sixth matchup of the night between the legendary Todd Bridges and the vivacious Diane Franklin. So here we go. The first one, Todd has to say why the bulldog from Rocky was underrated in the trilogy and the movies of Rocky Balboa in the Rocky series. So Todd has to sell that. In turn, the next question up for Todd in the more underrated, it was a multiple choice, who was more underrated? And Avi threw out the choices, and one of them was Riddick Bowe, and that's who Todd Bridges came up with in his, what he had to sell in the game of the more underrated. The Bulldog from Rocky fame, and Riddick Bowe. Diane Franklin actually agreed on Riddick Bowe, so I'll give her credit. She didn't know a lot about 80s music, but maybe she knew a little bit about being a pugilist and all the crazy roles that she's been in Hollywood. Diane Franklin agreed with Todd Bridges on that one. Now, here were Diane's game of the more underrated from Avi Klein. Why are libraries underrated? And Diane Franklin, a smart lady. Hey, listen, unbelievable. She gave out a pretty damn good explanation of why the public libraries and libraries in general are underrated. In turn, what was a multiple choice question? And I happen to agree with this because down here in the bunker, there's hundreds of thousands of them. What's the more underrated and sell it? Diane Franklin came up with VHS tapes. And if you watch some of my social media from the Vault and Chaos Chronicles, there's nothing like VHS tapes. There really isn't. So many great memories from back in the days of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, long before technology, which I love, but I hate at the same time. So it really was something. So Diane came up with VHS tapes, and I agree with her on that. This has been a great segment thus far between Todd Bridges and Diane Franklin. So here we go. The votes come in. It's a single elimination. I couldn't believe what happened here. Todd wins. 1-0. He sold it. Diane Franklin, as quickly as she came in on Mystery Night, another TV film legend of the big screen, as quickly as she came in, Todd Bridges eliminated her. This was a single elimination bout. Todd Bridges wins this 1-0, and Diane Franklin, unfortunately, has been eliminated. Hey, listen, just like Paul Roma was eliminated, just like Judge Pompous Maximus was eliminated, however, he was eliminated, just like J.C. Farina has been disqualified, just like other contestants have dropped out and walked away, and people wanted to go back to independent wrestling. They weren't ready to step up their game. People have been fired. People have just dropped off and fainted. A lot of things have happened here with competitors and through this tournament, and we're still only in the first round. So Diane Franklin, a part of the WWAB family, Finito, Todd Bridges, Different Strokes, the book Killing Willis. And then he ends this segment with a strong message, Todd Bridges, about our veterans and our military in this country and how they're not being treated the right way and how we should all do more. Pay tributes to our vets, our veterans, our military, our law enforcement. And he put out a message on vets and veterans of this country that really hit home, especially to a lot of the people on this WWAB network. So Todd Bridges, it was unbelievable. In that matchup, Diane Franklin, do I need to say any more than that? What a show it was. There's the results. There's the review of Avi Klein's The Green Room tournament. Round 1, night 3. I hope you stayed for the whole time. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. I'm almost done, almost ready to wrap it up. Avi comes on and he ends night 3. And again, it truly was mystery night. I'll keep this under an hour and a half, and I hope you stayed to the end. Avi, thanks everybody. Couldn't thank the fans enough. What a successful night. He shows a video montage for what's coming up next weekend, which in this country is a great weekend. The pandemic, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Crowds are coming back. Folks are coming back. Everybody's getting ready to hit the road. If we kick this in the ass, you still have to be safe and smart and do the right thing. Protect those around you and your family and your friends and your loved ones. Avi plays of what's going to come up in round 1, night 4, a video montage coming up on a very, very important weekend next weekend, Memorial Day weekend of The Green Room, Saturday night, live, round 1, night 4. May Madness continues. What an unbelievable montage of all the competitors that Avi put together. Here's, and again, card subject to change, as you saw. We don't know what happened to the matchup between Duke the Dumpster Drosy and Hollywood Rich Masadi, as I like to call him. A long, heated, rivaled, bitter feud right now, but still friends that respect each other. I don't know what happened. It wasn't mentioned. Card subject to change. You never know what could happen on The Green Room. Who knows what's in future for Duke the Dumpster Drosy versus Rich Masadi, his old friend. Rich is up 1-0. We'll have to watch Road to Recovery. You'll have to stay tuned for Saturday Night Live for The Green Room. Next week, that has been announced. Pastor Andy, the Patriot versus the Pastor. The Patriot Del Wilkes and Pastor Andy McDaniel. Andy is up 1-0 in a best of 3. That's going to be a matchup of biblical proportions next week. Making waves every Thursday night, Don Morocco, the Hall of Famer, the legend from the islands. Mahalo, bro. He will be there on night 4 with his mystery opponent. Who knows what's in store? Once again, the Murder Hornet versus the Killer Bee. The very intense Eric Heron will take on Cauliflower Alley President B. Brian Blair. Now, this is the only matchup that is tied right now. It's actually a draw. So the Murder Hornet, as Jay Brony calls him, the Lone Wolf, Eric Heron, against a buzz. I always like to say this. A buzz. B. Brian Blair. We also have Preston Present, the time traveler from who knows where, takes on the Spitfire, the very, very charismatic daughter of Mickey Doyle in one Sammy Doyle. Very easy on the eyes. Preston Present, time traveler, you got your hands full with Sammy Doyle. We also have the return bout. This gentleman is up 1-0 in the best out of 3. Fred Ottman, a.k.a. Tugboat, Typhoon, Shockmaster, woo-woo, takes on Brian Clark, a man who served this country. Wrath from WCW, Adam Bomb. This is a best out of 3. Tugboat is up 1-0. Fred Ottman's up 1-0 on Brian Clark. This is going to be a matchup of mammoth proportions. As I said once before, the irresistible force meets the immovable object. Also, making his appearance in a highly anticipated matchup. He's healed up. He's on the mend. You see him on Breaking the Ice, and that would be Glacier Ray Lloyd appears next Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, night 4, to take on award-winning author and the man who is in charge and responsible for the movie with Mickey Rourke, The Wrestler, perhaps one of the greatest pro wrestling movies of all time. The Wrestler, Evan Ginsberg. Talk about a battle of wits. The irreplaceable Glacier Ray Lloyd from Breaking the Ice every Tuesday against perhaps one of the best filmmakers, world travelers, and one Evan Ginsberg. Will Mindy and Maria settle up their differences? It's very controversial. Will they be there for night 4? I don't know. I really don't know what's happening with, I really don't know what's happening with Maria and Miranda. But this I do know, and this is the Freudian slip. Finally, the little sass from Texas, the little lady from the big state, Mindy McKinney Red, will be there on night 4. She's been very active on social media. She has her whole family involved. That's what we're hearing. There's a big tornado and twister and storm a brewing in the Lone Star State coming to the green room. And that would be one Mindy McKinney Red. So I don't even have to talk about Maria and Miranda. Let them take care of their own problems. Mindy McKinney Red has her hands full with we don't know who, another mystery opponent. That's what Avi has set up for night 4 on Memorial Day weekend. Also, the first round matchup of one of the originals, Howard Collado, entertainer extraordinaire, takes on one Sergeant Ralph Murray, who's been very quiet, a man who walks softly but carries a big stick, who served this country, a brother of mine from behind the walls, the ultimate respect. He doesn't have to say much, but he's got his hands full in a battle of minds with one Howard Collado. You got screwed too, Howard. I'll say that to say this. You're not going to want to miss that matchup. Howard finally gets his revenge, at least in his mind. We also have the return bout from the main event of night 3. And that would be Mr. Main Event, Avi's odds-on choice, David Holliday to take on Mr. Miyagi himself. Mentor to young students, one Jamie Sparling. Now, David's up 1-0. It was the clean sweep last week in all the challenges. David Holliday's the real deal. He's legit as they come in this competition, in this WWAB network. He's a force to be reckoned with. He's the odds-on favorite in Vegas. Go to the sports book. He matches up with a longtime friend, and we know the history. Next Saturday on Memorial Day weekend, live, David Holliday, Jamie Sparling. Also, from the Brood, WWE alumni, the Vampire Warrior, Gangrel makes his appearance against another mystery opponent. So you think this mystery Saturday night, as I adjust here at the end, coming up on an hour and a half of the coverage, Gangrel shows up on Memorial Day weekend. Again, card subject to change. As I said, who knows what's going to happen in that cat fight? I really don't care. I have no dog in that fight yet. I don't know what's going to happen with Pinocchio Joe and yours truly. I don't know what's going to happen between GOC Kirkland Esquire and the Doyle henchmen. I know that it's 1-1 now, and you're in my wheelhouse. This isn't your wheelhouse, Pinocchio Joe. It just isn't. It's my wheelhouse. Any wheelhouse is mine. So I don't know when we'll be back. Will it be next weekend? What will happen? There's supposed 10, 11, maybe 12 matchups next week on night 4, round 1 of the Green Room Tournament. So stay tuned to all social media platforms. Follow Avi Klein. Follow all the competitors. Follow yours truly for all the information. I'll keep you updated and in the loop. And stay tuned for my live broadcasts. Pinocchio Joe, keep digging that grave. I'm coming for you. Green Room, I'm coming for you. What a great show, a great night. I'll be back with show number 7 to preview the information I have for night 4. And then, of course, I'll be back to review it when it's over. So I'll say that to say this. Don't you dare miss it.